So John, we're back. I have a little bit of Grand Theft Auto 5 follow up, which is a really weird thing to say because we must have spoken about this for years now because this game has been out like 9 years.
It's been out since long before we started the podcast, I think. But
yeah,
and you're a big fan. You're a big fan. But Rob, I think we should let folks know where we went. Where did we disappear to? You were doing fun things, and I was doing not so fun things.
Yeah, so that's it. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, we delayed for 2 weeks.
A couple of times,
I think, because we delayed for a couple of weeks because I didn't have a desk to work from, so I had nowhere appropriate to even record the podcast. And then you've hurt your knee.
Yes,
and I was also in Rome for a week, which we will get to.
By the by, I was just off jet setting around Europe, going to all the fancy places in Italy. But yes, that
absolutely,
that looked like a wonderful trip. And yes, and I hurt my knee, and that is going to get better. The thing is though about the knee is that this is the second knee that I've hurt during the run of Ruminate, because if you recall, I did the exact same thing to my other knee. And we recorded an episode the day that I did it. I don't know why I did that. It might have been the pain medications. I really don't know.
Mm-hmm.
With the microphone balanced on my chest, lying flat on my back, and that was probably not something I should have done back then. This time, instead of doing something similar, we decided to put it off a week because my knee is not fixed yet, but it is not painful, and I've got it up, so I can actually. The good thing about the work that we do, Rob, is that really you can do it in any prone position, no matter.
Oh, absolutely!
Right? You can do it. Oh, yeah. You can do it in bed. You can do it on the couch. You can sit in a chair. No matter what. Put your feet up, put your feet down, whatever. It's not exactly hard labor. So it's. I've been still getting a fair amount done.
I distinctly remember that 5 years ago. You text me. I can't remember if it was very late or quite early my time. And you sort of said, "Oh, I've done this thing to my knee. I don't know if I'll be able to record or not. I'll let you know." And I was like, "Okay." And obviously, you went off to doctors, hospital, wherever you went, and then you said, "No, I'm fine to record." And I thought you'd already told me what you'd done. I thought, "Oh, okay, if you say so." And we went for it.
Yep, we did. So this time we put it off a week, and so we're back, and we'll hopefully be on a more regular schedule now. But what do you have to tell me about Grand Theft Auto 5? I saw you mentioning this in the Club Mac Stories Discord recently.
Yeah, so this is one of those things where they must have announced, I think it might have even been at the PlayStation 5 release event. Mm-hmm. They said, GTA 5 is coming to the PS5, online and the single player, and everybody, including me, sort of rolled their eyes. It's like, well, we've already got the PS4 version, which runs pretty well. And I'm being Rockstar, I think everybody assumed they were going to charge, £40-50 or something like that. And it went up for pre-order yesterday, and for the first 3 months, they're only charging $10. So I've now bought GTA 5 for the third time in the last 10 years.
Congratulations! Wow.
So I bought the original version on Xbox 360, and I was working at a game shop at the time, so I actually got it a day early. And then probably about 5 years ago, I picked up the PS4 version just to replay it, and now I guess I'm going to replay it again on the PS5 because $10 is really not a lot of money for upgrade, and I can kind of live with that price.
Oh, nice. Have they changed anything?
No, as far as I know, it's literally just like textures, and I think it runs at 60 frames per second, which would be nice. But this isn't anywhere, it's not close to a sort of full remaster or anything like that. It's essentially the same game with some, I think it's got DualSense features as well, which obviously they can't do with the PS4 version. Right. So, and I think it comes out next week. So, I'll give it a go.
Oh, nice.
So, given that the sale was only for 3 months, I thought, well, I'm just going to pick this up now.
No, that sounds good. I'm going to be sitting around the house a lot, so I could use some recommendations for things, games, movies, that kind of thing, because I'm going to have some time on my hands, I think.
Yeah, if you got some time, you could. I'm sure you've got plenty of games lying around. You could give a go.
Yeah, I guess since we last talked, one of the things I did was I bought a bunch of 3DS games.
Okay, that's a new one.
Yeah, because the eShop is closing, and it's closing relatively soon. I think it's the end of May, I want to say, when they stop taking credit cards. So, sorry. So yeah, I went in, and first thing I did was I went through the Virtual Console and found any games that I thought that were ones that I always kind of meant to play that were only available that way, like Box Boy, for instance. Mm-hmm. And then I went through some of the classic Nintendo titles and picked up a few of those because, although I have the Analog Pocket and I can get things like, old Game Boy or Game Boy Color or Advance games and play them there, some of these games are very expensive, and I could pick them up on the 3DS for, like $10 instead of, I don't know, $100. Some of those Pokemon games are very expensive. So I did that, and I've got a big 3DS that is in still really good shape. So I'm just going to play stuff on that some. I think that's my plan, at least.
Yeah, it definitely feels like with Nintendo shutting, the eShop, and Sony attempted to do it with the PS3 store a while ago, maybe 6 months ago or something.
The Vita store too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And I think we seem to be hitting this point now where, firstly, all the people like me who are physical collectors, we can sit here being a little bit smug.
True, no doubt.
But we're definitely hitting that point now where, these consoles are really old. Not so much the 3DS, but, certainly the PS3 and the Vita and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. They can't keep these stores running indefinitely.
Right.
Or, they can theoretically, but they're a business. They have to, at some point, they have to just cut it off, because I'm sure they're paying, server infrastructure and all of the payments and stuff like that. Right. And I think we're just going to keep seeing more and more of this as we go through. Another generation is going to drop off of the whatever digital marketplace they've got. And I can be smug for now, but I think we're probably this generation is probably going to be the last one that's got physical games in any real capacity.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that, especially with Nintendo, that there's no good alternative for a lot of the games that were on the Virtual Console, for instance. Those just aren't available anywhere now, and physical copies, unless you were a collector at the time, that's not always a good option. The games, they wear out, plus they can be very expensive. It'd be nice if there was some option today, but Nintendo's not very good about bringing back those old games.
No, don't. And like you say, the first option most people would suggest is piracy,
right?
Or not piracy, using ROMs and using an emulator. But as you say, there are games that are exclusive to these platforms. The Scott Pilgrim game was a good example of that. They've re-released it now.
Right,
that came out, was it 10 years ago? And then I think it was only on sale for maybe a year. Mm-hmm. And then they lost the license, and it's like, oh, okay, that game is now gone forever. There's no PC version. If you've got a PC version, it makes it a lot easier because you can mostly play that on any PC.
Right.
But there are a lot of games like that. There's I can't even remember the name of it now, but there was a game that me and a friend played years and years ago on the PS3, and that was like a digital only title, and that's not even in the store anymore. So it's like, well, that game's just lost to the ether forever, and nobody will ever be able to play it again.
Right, and there's some of these too. I think especially with Nintendo and we're heading into a generation of these games where they have very specific hardware that can't be emulated particularly well. Whether it's the DS or the 3DS or the Wii U or the Wii's, the Wii, controllers, all those things. There are ways to emulate them, and people have tried, but it's not really the same necessarily. So that's a whole nother complicating layer to how this sort of thing works in preserving these games.
Yeah, you've definitely reminded me. I need to double check my 3DS collection and see.
Yeah, you should.
See if there's anything I want before the eShop shuts down, because those prices are going to jump up.
Right, and the reason I did it. So some of the stuff I got was downloadable. I did order a couple of games online because you can still get these games, especially the popular ones, if there's maybe a couple of popular games or ones that are considered particularly good that you missed during that generation, it is possible to pick them up at places like Amazon for a reasonable price. They're not like, a lot of them are still like $20 or $30. They're not incredibly expensive. It's the things that aren't made anymore that are rarer that tend to draw these high prices, and that really goes back to the Game Boy era and that sort of thing.
Yeah, definitely. It's a real shame that, as I say, these stores have to shut down eventually, but it's a shame that there's a lot of games that, will just get lost and we're never going to see them again unless, even something like limited run games is a nice, they're a nice, decent, they're a good enough company as far as I'm aware, they print the games, but they really price a lot of people out, not intentionally. I don't think making cartridges in short runs is probably quite difficult.
Yep.
The same is even true for the PS4 games and stuff they do. Like, they have to charge a price that makes sense for them, and I don't feel like that's a legitimate option for a lot of people.
Yeah, it really isn't. Plus, I mean, they do a lot of games, but they tend to be pretty niche games that maybe, I guess, diehard fans are into, but not necessarily covering the full spectrum of what people like. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you're totally right. I mean, there's always, probably 2 or 3 times a year they're doing like what I would consider a well-known or popular game. But as you say, a lot of it is more niche games and the ones that have sort of maybe got a cult following, that kind of thing.
Right. Definitely. So what else, Rob? I've been playing Horizon Forbidden West a little bit.
Let me just, before you continue, you're not allowed to tell me anything.
Okay.
Because I haven't bought it, because I haven't had a spare day to even consider playing it. Because we're still doing DIY work, and a lot of the weekends still at the moment are just filled with DIY jobs. Sure. And running out to the hardware store for God knows what. You know what it's like. You start doing DIY, you're going to go 2 or 3 times in a day.
Yep.
And it's not the worst thing in the world. Like, I've waited a couple of weeks. It's now like £15 cheaper on Amazon already.
Wow.
It's down from, I think it's because the PS5 games are overly inflated at £70.
Yes.
So I'm hoping maybe next weekend I might have some. I want to make sure I've got a decent amount of time to play it, at least to start with.
Yeah.
So I might pick it up next week.
All right.
So it's no spoilers. I haven't listened to your episode of Unwind yet, or because I don't want to hear anything about it yet.
Yeah, don't listen to that because it definitely goes into some detail. But I haven't played a lot since then, and that's partly just because I've been busy with other things and hurt my knee and all that sort of thing. Plus, I've been returning to Pokemon Legends Arceus even more. I mean, I've gotten down to the last area of the game, and I've just enjoyed playing that one in short bursts here and there, in the evenings and stuff. It's such a fun game. I do, though, after playing playing Forbidden West, and then you open up Pokemon and you're like, oh, wow, these graphics really are pretty bad. Yeah. And it's not just the Switch. I mean, it's just the Pokemon company and the graphics they're doing just pretty rough. Some of the animations are really good. There's just areas where it's just very rough, and it's better in handheld especially on an OLED Switch. The colors really are vibrant, and it looks great in a sense that way. But if you spend any time on like a PS5 game or something and then go over to it, it's a little jarring at first. It doesn't mean it's not a fun game anyway, but it does kind of shock your senses a little bit if you've come from a real high resolution, high production game like Forbidden West.
No, yeah, definitely. I've done that a few times where I've gone to a lot of the Switch games are like that. I mean, I think some of the proper Nintendo made ones, they're very good at making it look nice, even if it doesn't have like the best graphics.
Yes.
Mario Kart, Breath of the Wild, that kind of thing.
Right.
But no, I totally get what you mean. It's certainly jarring switching between the two consoles.
Yeah, another one that does a good job is the new Kirby game that's coming. I played the demo of that, and it's a lot of fun. I mean, it's like just like overkill on the cuteness, but it's but it's a fun little game. I mean, it's not super hard. They have 2 modes. One's, I guess, an easy mode, and one's a hard mode. They both seem pretty easy to me, and I'm not by no means like a great gamer or anything, but I thought it was a lot of fun. It's only 3 stages, so you can burn through it pretty fast. But you get a hang for the mechanics, and Kirby swallowing the giant objects like a car and a cone, a traffic cone, and stuff like that. I'm looking forward to it actually coming out. I think that's later this month, maybe in a couple of weeks. I want to say.
Yeah, I think you might be right. It's definitely out soon. This was one of those ones where they just sort of they just dropped it. They were like, oh, this is coming in a few weeks. And great.
Yeah,
that's like lovely. That's what I like.
It's Kirby and the Forgotten Land. So that's the actual title. Yeah, it just came out of the blue about a week ago, and I was like, oh, this will be perfect. And I played through it really quickly, and it was just a nice little taste of what's coming. I guess I guess to entice people to buy it. Maybe that's why they dropped things like that, because maybe the pre-sales weren't high enough.
Yeah, I mean, certainly, a demo certainly helps. I think if you've got a good game,
it helps or it hurts. It depends. That's the thing. You got to make sure you have a good game on your hands.
I downloaded the Cyberpunk 5-hour trial for the PS5 version. No, that's not for me.
Right, exactly.
I played it for about an hour, and I was like, no, this isn't a game for me. It's fine. I'll let other people enjoy it, but this is not a game I'm interested in playing any more of. So
yeah, we got Elden Ring last weekend because my son wanted to play it, and I've been thinking about it, and watching him play pretty much cured me of wanting to play it.
I knew that it's not a game I want to play, but I'm absolutely obsessed with watching people stream it.
Yeah, yeah, it's brutally difficult, and it looks great, but it's really difficult to play. I mean, I much rather play Forbidden West, which can be played on a lot of different levels. It has a bunch of different difficulty settings. It even has like a story mode if you really just want to kind of interact with the characters and see the story unfold. I'm not playing at that level, but it does have a real good narrative, and it's a great looking game. So there is something to be said for going a little easier on yourself and just enjoying the experience and not making it frustrating or feeling like chores and that sort of thing.
Shall I tell you a bit about Rome?
I want to hear all about Rome. Yeah, I've been to Rome, as you probably know, but
yes,
and I gave you one suggestion of a place to go, but where'd you go? What'd you do? I mean, I love Rome. It's one of my favorite cities.
Yeah, so I asked for a bunch of recommendations in the Mac Stories Discord, and I got a whole bunch from you, a couple of other people in there. Federico gave me a sort of a list, which was more of his. I think he sort of said it's more of his like tourist list,
right.
The kind of stuff this is the stuff you should go and see. And there was a couple of bits on there. So the first 2 days we did what I would consider like the proper tourist stuff. So we went to the Vatican Museum, which oh my god, it's so boring.
It's a lot of walking too.
It's a lot of walking, and I don't. It's a strange. They obviously the Vatican has a lot of stuff.
Yep.
It's hundreds of years old. They've got all the sculptures and statues and all this, but there's just a lot of it.
Yeah, it's overload.
So, so we went there the first day. Had a look around St. Peter's Square during the day, which was nice, and went into the the basilica that's in there, which was it was very grand and impressive.
Did you go up on the dome?
No, I didn't even know that was an option.
Yeah, you can go up on the dome. It's a little bit claustrophobic, but you can get up onto the roof. At some part of the roof, we did it once, and it's pretty neat. And you can look down and see the entire square from up there, which is pretty
interesting.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. You can get up inside the. You both go outside, but you also go inside the dome. So like you're in St. Peter's Cathedral, in the dome in the middle, looking down at the people below inside the church, and looking at the the artwork on the ceiling as well, which is pretty neat.
Oh, interesting. I don't think I saw anything for that, but oh well. I mean, it doesn't matter. I'm sure I'm going to go back again.
Yeah. There's always something new to do there. There's so much history and sites and things, and of course, good places to eat.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. So the first day was mostly that, like just the Vatican Museum and St. Peter's Square, and then the next day we went and did the Colosseum and the Roman Forum and up the hill. Mm-hmm. So the first 2 days, that was a lot of walking.
It is, yeah.
We'd kind of get back to the hotel at like 7 o'clock at night, and we'd be like, right, let's just go grab dinner from the nearest restaurant, and then let's just go to bed,
right?
Because that was, and those are the main sort of touristy places. We're right by the Pantheon and the Trevi Fountain, so we could sort of see those whenever we needed to.
Oh, that's nice. I really like that area around there. I've got nice pictures from there. When we first went to Rome, we stayed near the Plaza Navona, which is kind of close to there, like on the way to the Vatican, basically.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Well, that is where I found the best bakery for our breakfast pastries.
Oh.
And I would love to tell you what I had, but the woman who ran this bakery did not speak English, or chose to not speak English, which is absolutely fine. So there was just a lot of pointing and me just pointing at things that looked nice that I'd never seen before. Right, exactly. Like, I didn't know. And it was quite funny, actually. One of the days I went in, there was somebody in front of me. I was just sort of waiting. And then the woman who's running it was like, speaking to me in Italian, like waving a croissant at me. And I was like, what on earth is going on? Like, I don't... Thankfully, the woman in front of me spoke English, and she was like, she's asking if you want a croissant because she's taking them out the back to stuff them like they do.
Oh.
And I was like, I basically just said, sorry, I'm English. Like, I'm just apologising for not speaking Italian.
Oh, that's funny.
But I mean, to what you're saying, like the food, I think, is more what I'd want to go back for, because, we were eating 3 times a day, mostly in restaurants, because there was just so many nice restaurants. We were like, we're going there for pizza, and then we get pasta later, or... Right. And I kind of just want to go back just to eat more food, because the food was so good.
Yeah, that's perfectly okay. I mean, I've been, I guess, 4 times to Rome, 2 times with my family and 2 times just to do work stuff with Federico. And even just going to do work stuff with Federico was still a lot of fun, even though we weren't really doing touristy sites, because we always go to some really nice lunch and dinner place every single day. And that, to me, getting to go out and eat in Italy every night for 4 or 5 days is as fun as going and seeing the sites. I mean, I've seen like the ones you've seen and a lot of the other ones when I was there with my family. And so getting to just go there and eat is totally fine with me.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, one of the kind of stupid things we did, not stupid, but it's kind of silly, was because we were so tired at the hotel, the first day when we got back to the hotel, we watched Angels and Demons. and then on the second night when we got back, we watched Gladiator.
Good.
Just because we'd been to the Colosseum, and it was kind of just fun to be like, literally just where we've been, and like... But yeah, I mean, the food, I posted this in the Mac Stories Discord, but I've ended up buying a book, a pasta sauces book that I think was originally printed about 30 years ago, because it's allegedly like, a lot of people were saying this is the best one for pasta sauces, because I'm like, I don't want to eat any kind of pasta I was making before. So I'm gonna work my way through the recipes in that.
No, that's great. Yeah, no, I mean, I love the food there, and always end up, even just the simplest stuff is just so tasty. So it's a great way to spend your time in Rome. Wow.
Oh, absolutely. And the other thing we were doing, and you kind of, when you normally go to a new place, you want recommendations for places to eat, or
sure,
things to do. After the first day, we were like, I think you can just pick anywhere random, and the food's still going to be really good. It's
kind of true.
And that's kind of what we were doing, because we got a metro ticket with free with our Vatican tickets. I think it was. Because we bought like all the tickets all in one.
Right.
So we were just jumping on the metro and go, I don't know, let's get off at this stop, and we'll just pick a restaurant that we like the look of. and we didn't have bad food once.
No,
I mean,
nice.
I'm not sure you can do that in many other countries.
No, I don't think that you can.
Or even any other cities for that matter. Like to be able to just pick anywhere at random and always have nice food, it's just truly impressive.
Yeah, one of the things that I really like when I'm there is soupli, which is deep fried risotto balls with a cheese in the center that you usually dip in marinara or something. And they have different ones. Some shops will have different stuffings or different flavors of them, but the traditional ones have like cheese, and then you can dip them in sauce. And they're so good. And I've really not seen them outside of Italy. So I'm sure there are some Italian restaurants in other countries that serve them, but they're a pretty neat treat that I like to have when I'm there. And they're almost they even have some shops that they're really just like fast food soupli shops where you just go in and they have a whole bunch of different varieties and you order up, a half dozen of them and you can eat them on the go because they're just wrapped up and deep fried and you can have them like, just like you would fast food.
Sure, yeah. I think I can't remember what I was going to say to you now.
Oh.
No, I've completely lost it. I don't know. I'm sure there was something else, but I've completely forgotten.
Well,
so it's fine.
I'm glad you had a good trip because I know that trip was delayed quite a bit because of COVID, and you finally got to go.
Yeah, this was the trip that we had booked for 2 weeks before our wedding.
Oh wow!
The
first
so
time
obviously
it was
not
scheduled, right?
Right, yeah, and then we're now on the third time it's scheduled. But yeah, I mean, and we had an amazing time. I mean, the airport experience is really something at the moment. Obviously because of various measures like checking passes and all of that kind of stuff. That wasn't a particularly fun experience, but I'm not convinced that I'm remembering that airports were particularly fun before that. So
no, it's true. And I went to Ireland and Italy in I guess end of October, early November, and there's just a whole nother layer of hassle with having to deal with the COVID regulations and things and how it's different from country to country. It's at least nice moving from, if you're all within the EU. When I went from like Ireland to Italy and back, that was pretty painless, but it was actually the hardest part was coming back to the US. The US at the time had the stricter regulations. But it changed. The other thing is it changes constantly. So you have to be kind of on top of what each country's regulations are. And there's forms to fill out and timing with your testing and all that stuff, which makes it a little bit more stressful.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think when we went, I think it was 3 days before we went, their regulations changed. Mm-hmm. And we kind of knew it was coming because there was some mention that it was going to change. And it was kind of fine, but we could have potentially ended up spending way more money than we needed to on, tests and stuff like that. But, thankfully, it was okay. It was a bit of a stress because we were still waiting for test results and we were on our way to the airport. But it is what it is. Yeah. And, all I cared about was once I was on the plane, I felt very de-stressed because I'm like, well, I'm on the plane now. Like,
right.
Short of really bad weather or something, we're going to make it to Rome.
Right.
That's all I really care about was making it to Rome.
Yeah.
So, and yeah, we had a great time.
Oh, that's good.
And it was, it's kind of nice to get a holiday at the, after this sort of 2 years that we've all had.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
Just chill out. And the weather was amazing. It was like 19 degrees every day, which is, kind of perfect for sort of walking around. Especially somewhere like Rome where you are going to do a lot of walking.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, we were really happy. It was kind of perfect.
Yeah, they don't really know what bad weather is in Rome. I mean, and when it gets cold, it's like barely cold. I mean, it's not... When I go there, when I've gone there twice around, once in November, once in December, it's always been pretty comfortable, even though, back home it was quite cold. Although I guess it gets very hot and humid in the summer. I have not been to Rome in the dead of summer. I've always been there at like spring or fall. So
yeah, we did. That had occurred to us. Like obviously, originally we were going to be going in August.
It can be very hot then, I think.
And when we were like queuing up for stuff, at St. Peter's Square and in museums and stuff like that, or when we were just walking around the streets, which can get pretty busy, even these like side streets and stuff. All I kept thinking was, I'm so glad we didn't come in August because me and Jess particularly were pretty sensitive to the heat. Like I'm always quite warm as it is, even unless it's freezing cold outside. I'm always pretty warm. So the summer is always worse for me. So I'm so glad we didn't go in the summer.
Yeah, no, that probably is good. Yeah, that it does get warm. It is a Mediterranean country after all, but. Well, that's great. I'm glad you had a good time. I'm looking forward to getting out and doing some more stuff again myself. But I'm going to be sidelined for a couple of months with my knees. So for now, it's just me moving from my desk to my living room and back again. That's about all there is to it for me these days.
That's your commute.
That's my commute. Yeah. I'm not even allowed to go upstairs during the day right now because my wife is afraid that I will trip and fall down the stairs or something because I don't have great mobility with my knees. So once it's fixed up and I'm a little more stable, I'll be able to even go upstairs.
Yeah, well, do you know, it's funny you said that. You've reminded me about something vaguely tech related. I hit my arm. I was sorting out the garage, clearing it out and stuff like that. And I sort of dropped a shelf and caught it on my arm. And then my Apple Watch was buzzing at me. I was like, what on earth's going on? It's like, it looks like you've had a fall. And I'm like, well, no, but I suppose at least I know it works.
Well, funny you say that, because the ice I slipped on and fell very hard and ruined my knee. It didn't go off.
Of course it didn't.
Right, and I came down. I could not have come down harder, Rob. I have such a huge bruise on my side, on my backside still. 2 weeks later, I came down like a ton of bricks and ruined my knee, and the Apple Watch didn't go off. I guess I didn't fall according to the algorithm.
Yeah, you're falling wrong.
Yeah, exactly. Oh well. I'm pretty sure I fell down though. So fortunately, I was able to call and get a ride home from my wife.
Excellent. That's always good to hear.
Yep.
And hopefully, you get your operation and you'll be back up and at 'em in no time.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to it. Looking forward to the recovery instead of just sitting around not being able to walk well.
Yeah, that's not a lot of fun. I had an operation, when I was younger, when I was a teenager, and the same thing. It's just like, so we didn't even have the internet at my house at that point. So there was a lot. Oh yeah, I watched daytime TV for I think about 3 months.
Oh, no.
And I'm not sure if you may not. The British daytime TV is a particular. It's very British. There's like antique shows.
Yeah.
There's Homes Under the Hammer, which is where somebody buys a house at auction.
Okay.
And a lot of house shows, a lot of antique shows, and they're normally sort of a movie you've never heard of. With actors you've never heard of in the middle of the day. So yeah, I did that for a few months as a teenager. I'd be thankful you've got the internet.
Yeah, I'm surprised you recovered with that sort of stuff to watch. I've got Twitter, so look out, internet. I'm gonna be hot taking all over the place because I'll have time on my hands.
There we go.
All right.
So yeah, I think that's probably enough for this week, and we didn't really get to any of the Apple stuff from yesterday, but we can dig into that in a couple of weeks. I think when we've got a bit more information, and maybe somebody, namely you, has ordered something.
Oh, I may have ordered something. I may have ordered the most expensive computer I've ever ordered. So
well, there you go. There's a little teaser for everyone.
All right, I'll talk to you later, Rob.